Sheffield United or Sunderland. One of them is going to be a Premier League team for the 25-2026 season. What's up, guys? We're back on Lex Alexas, and it's one of my favourite types of videos. It is the Championship Playoff Final, and we're predicting for this game. I am really excited to predict this game. It's always a little bit of fun, just nerve-wracking, and I do sympathise for Sheffield United Sunderland fans. It's going to be an intense day, an intense game, and I'm hoping for a good majority or a good sum of you, it will be one of the best days of your life. I'm going to go around talking through what these sides needed to do to get into this position, how I feel about each team's performances leading up to this game, the key areas we're going to need to look for and the circumstances we'll need to consider, and how I think this game will pan out, and I will give a score prediction from this one. I encourage you guys to also leave a score prediction and your thoughts of this game in the comments down below. If you have a preference of who do you want to go up to the Premier League, also let me know too in the comments down below. Without any further ado, let's just get on with this. Let's predict what I think will happen in the Championship 24-25 playoff final. So you can see on the left hand side, these are the two sides who could get promoted and could get Premier League glory. Sheffield United and Sunderland, third versus fourth in the end of the current season, and both have managed to beat their lower positioned opposition to get into the position they're in. If we now jump onto the capture and let's see how each team needed to get into that position. So there's the big game, and if we go to Sheffield United first, let's have a look at their story. So obviously they managed to beat Bristol City at Ashton Gate by 3-0. That was the first game. This red card here for Rob Dickey was certainly when the game shifted. You could see actually from the first quarter of this playoff affair, it was Bristol City that was probably keeping it even in terms of holding some threats going forward. But of course, the red card leading up to the penalty really changed things just before half-time, a killer time to concede a goal and to go down to 10 men. And ultimately, second half, it was one-way traffic. And that definitely continued on if we now look at the home game. Just absolute domination and completely comfortable for Sheffield United in the end. 3 different goal scorers as well, O'Hare, Hamer and Moore, and again disappointing for Bristol City's point of view to concede a goal just before half time. And you could see actually from that 3-0 deficit, Bristol City had a small spell where they were probing, but again it was nowhere near enough, and Sheffield United even got a goal by not even being too threatening in that first half. And second half, certainly, again, they were just so clinical when they got those chances. And one thing I think is going to be very clear, that performance against Bristol City, whilst as comfortable as it is, it's clean sheets, which is a good sign to be defensively strong going into a playoff final. But I don't think Sheffield United got out of third gear at all in this game. If anything, they probably needed to shift the gear to force the red card, and then ultimately from then on, they were just coasting for, I would dare say, a good game and a half in those two playoff games. So very comfortable for Sheffield United. Can't take it away from them. A 6-0 aggregate win is the biggest aggregate win. I think that was the stat for all EFL playoff games. So certainly Sheffield United will be feeling good with the way that they got there. Now Sunderland took a more traditional difficult route. So you can see here in the first leg, Sunderland edged out Coventry by 2-1. Isidore and Mayenda making things really exciting for Sunderland for being the 2 goal scorers that got them the win. And you can see here, Coventry looking like it was one-way traffic, but Sunderland just was so dangerous on the break, and that was really what gave them the edge. You could see with the stats, it's Coventry with a slightly bigger XG. Stats wise, it actually looks very even, but you can see here in the momentum, it looked more or less favouring to Coventry because they held on to the ball. They were looking more likely, let's say, because of their control of the game, that they were going to get moments. But lo and behold, it was Sunderland. And I've got to appreciate as well, Coventry responded very quickly and Sunderland could have had their heads down, but they kept the game level and even snuck a winner at the end. Amazing stuff from my ender to get to that winner. But definitely the game that people are going to be talking about is their most recent game at the Stadium of Light. Performance-wise, wasn't ideal, but you can actually see here, again, Coventry probing. And what I will see here is actually when Sunderland did look like they had their best spell, it was actually moments after when Efron managed to get their goal for Coventry. And extra time was very interesting. You can even see here in the first half of extra time, it was Coventry, but then something woke up with Sunderland. It looked like in the second half of extra time, they were the likely team getting something, whether it's Coventry backing up, preparing for penalties and not expecting it from Sunderland. But based on what I've seen here, and what a goal, by the way, for Dan Ballard to get it in the 122nd minute. The limbs we saw were insane. Absolutely insane. But stats-wise do favour Coventry a little bit more than Sunderland again. So, whilst stats-wise it would suggest that Sunderland was second best, they still got those results, and that is so crucial to be knowing how to do all of that at this stage of the season. So I'm really excited for Sunderland to be given this opportunity to try and rectify playoff heartbreak. Now that is the next thing that I want to talk about both of these sides before we go on their recent history. So this game, Sheffield United, Sunderland, and there's no secret, both of these sides absolutely have terrible memories of playoff records, and you would know for a fact that actually in the most recent positive result that either of these sides have had in terms of the playoffs was a Sunderland playoff win against Wickham. And lo and behold, the season after that, they made it to the semi-finals of the playoffs and the championship the season after, where they lost out to Luton, who ended up, they were going to be the team winning the playoffs. And crazy how the tides have changed with Sunderland one game away from the Prem and Luton down to League One. Just football's crazy, things always change. But Sheffield United, they've got a horrendous record. The most recent one I remember, I've mentioned it before already previewing, but them getting knocked out by Nottingham Forest, I believe it was, on penalties. Never a fun way to get eliminated or losing out on promotion to the Premier League. And honestly, the fact that both of these sides have this horrendous history and one of them is going to have a real big uplift, I think will be beneficial. But I do think it's something that the fans will ponder for, because they will be the ones who can say that they've been there, they've witnessed those moments. And certainly for how long the time stretches from their most early playoff heartbreaks to now, their squads are completely different now. And I certainly think it will serve as a good point for those players to give the fans something back, because they know both fans would really want something from this game. If we go back here to the catcher, let's actually go through the last interactions that we have had with those two. So different results and drama in both of them. So you can see here with Sheffield United, they won by 1-0. Tom Davies with the only goal, unlikely goal scorer. But Sunderland, having a good spell, missed the penalty from the penalty spot. Patrick Roberts with the miss. And then 2 red cards in the space of a couple of minutes. Metham getting the red card. And then Harry Souttar for Sheffield United getting 2 yellow cards. And in fact, that's 2 yellow cards in 10 minutes for Harry Souttar there. absolutely insane. And actually, second half, it did look like that both teams were having spells, but it was Sheffield United that just had the steam. They had the moment of quality that unlocked a positive moment for them. But then Sunderland can feel good for the fact that they've also have beaten Sheffield United this season. So both sides have shared a win against each other in their respective grounds. It was Sunderland beating Sheffield United in January by 2-1. And you can see 3 goals in the space of 8 minutes of each other. And Sheffield United themselves had the fate that Sunderland had with their reverse game. They missed this time from the penalty spot. I think it actually may have been Kiefer Moore who actually had the penalty. And then you can see here, that is when the goals flew in. You got Mayenda first, then you had O'Nien with an own goal, and Isidore getting the other goal. So again, those 2 players, Mayenda and Isidore, certainly for me, being the 2 main goal threats that Sheffield United have got to try and contend with. So I really do feel this great sense of excitement of what we could see here in this game. So it'll be a 3 o'clock or 3:01 kickoff potentially between these 2 sides. I think certainly odds are going to say that Sheffield United have the slight favourites. I mean, statistically, we know for a fact that they've accumulated more points than Sunderland had by the end of the season, and Sunderland's form certainly was not encouraging. But we've seen obviously recently that form can easily be discounted if you just set up properly, and that is what Reggie Labrie has done with this Sunderland side. So I do think this is a really close game, and I really struggle to call it. So in terms of streaks, I mean, Sunderland have not had a clean sheet in 4 games against Sheffield United, but loads of goals, loads of cards. So certainly could be interesting. I don't know if a playoff final might skew those stats a little bit. So typically, as we know from playoff finals, it could really be low scoring, and a lot of the time 1 goal is really all is required. So to go through the last couple I can remember from recently, because I've done 5 of these now, this is going to be my 6th, I believe, playoff final prediction. So last time out, Sunderland got not Sunderland, sorry, Southampton got an early goal against Leeds and managed to defend for basically the rest of the game and held on to that win. Last one was Luton and Coventry, 1-1 draw. Fankity Dabo missing from the penalty spot for Coventry. Luton go up to the Prem, and more playoff heartbreak for Coventry. And just more incredible moments. Nottingham Forest edging Huddersfield by 1-0. So you're seeing a pattern here that these games are just not high scoring. The last one I could think that was relatively high scoring was actually when Brentford edged past Swansea. I believe, was it 2-0? I think the scoreline was in the end. It may even be more for 2-0. But I do know for a fact that that was the last game I distinctly remember a playoff side actually being comfortably better than their opposition. I don't think we're going to see that here. Both sides have got some really good threats. But one thing I am slightly leaning towards favouring Sheffield United. Whilst I think they are going to hold on to the ball, they're going to certainly frustrate Sunderland for keeping the ball for themselves. And Sunderland are going to have to play, I will arguably say, and it could have given them an advantage, very similarly to how they played against Coventry. Being, on the back foot a little bit, soaking up some pressure. Brilliant performance from Dan Ballard, of course, in the second leg game against Coventry. He will need to be a big presence defensively. And we saw there he could be really big offensively. And who knows, maybe a set piece could be the difference again in this game here. But I do like Sheffield United's wider options. And one thing about this Sunderland side, which I've grown to really appreciate, it's a very youthful young team that will only get better over time. And the fact that they've already made a playoff final is a testament to how hard the players worked this season, but also the manager for getting them there as well. Certainly the form will suggest that, maybe there's now this disconnect, maybe there's this pressure now, but Tactically, I think Reggie Lebris got his tactics perfectly against a Coventry side who were probably one of the favourites actually out of the 4 teams in the playoffs to go up because of their really improved run of form. They've now gone past them now, and now have got a really, really good chance. And Sheffield United, of course, were in the Premier League relatively recently, 2 seasons ago. Very embarrassing campaign though. Record points, lower total for them. Not of all time. Southampton nearly broke that record, but it was similarly a very, very poor campaign for the Premier League last time out for Sheffield United. I think it will be an interesting one with a full season with Chris Wilder if they do go up. But Sunderland, as you may remember, have been relegated or have been outside of the Premier League since 2017. Would you believe that is nearly 10 seasons? It is absolutely insane that they've been out of the Premier League that long. It will actually be 8 seasons this year that Sunderland are out of the Prem, and it will be 9 if they don't get promoted and will have to go again next year. So the timing feels absolutely appropriate for Sunderland to go up. And I recently just watched Spurs win the Europa League, and you think why is this relevant, but I do think we are seeing a season where we are seeing these underdog teams managing to get the results, and it will feel a bit disrespectful for me to put Sunderland down as an underdog team, but you've got to appreciate the stories. You've got a Chris Wilder Sheffield United side who's experienced promotion before. Their squad players are way too good for the Championship, and certainly have got the favourable players who can just switch it on. And certainly with Sunderland, they've got the most players to prove a point. And I think naturally that does put them in a slightly underdog position. However, I am really struggling with this. I've been going back and forth. There's real pros and cons to whichever side, to be honest, who could win this game. I've already been going around 16 minutes going back and forth. I think with how this game's going to go, I think I'm going to have to be brave and predict this now. So I think Sunderland will actually start quite brightly. I do think Sunderland will start quite brightly, and I do think there will be this sense of nerves going in, and I think certainly the fans are going to have to play a very important part. They know their awful playoff records, both sets of fans, and both will need to be edging them on. Both teams have got amazing fan bases, very populous and very, very loud. So I don't think we're going to get a situation where one fan base triumphs the other and they get an additional, bit of support from there. I think it will be a great equaliser. I think both sets of fans will be amazing in their own way. But with how the performances on the pitch is going to go, again, Sheffield United will hold on to the ball, but Sunderland are so dangerous on the break, and it's just a question whether Sheffield United might be susceptible to any mistakes, or could there be any red cards? We've already seen that there were 2 red cards in one game, and we've had 2 penalty misses in their 2 recent head-to-head games. So everything's telling me it's going to be full of drama and it's going to be absolute box office. But I don't need me to tell you, with the amount of playoff finals I've watched, it is very likely going to be very, very cagey. Both sides are going to be very, very nervous. I think Sunderland will start brightly, but I think it will actually end up with 1 goal edging it. I do think we could get a situation where maybe both teams score. But realistically, I think when you get 1 goal, I think it really just settle at the character of the teams. I have a feeling if Sunderland do score first, Sheffield United will be able to figure out a way to get something. But if Sheffield United score first, I do fear for Sunderland a little bit because of the way that they could hold back on the ball. So I am thinking, and this is just my gut feeling, I think it's going to be a 1-0 win to Sheffield United. I think it's going to be Yorkshire that goes up again to the Premier League, and it'll mean Sheffield United get an immediate return and join Burnley and Leeds going back to the Premier League, and it will be another season outside the Prem for Sunderland. It's very much my head is telling me Sheffield United But deep down, my heart wants Sunderland to go up as well. It would be amazing to see them back in the Premier League. I would love to see the rivalry between them and Newcastle reignite again, especially with Newcastle's powers now, and to see if Sunderland could make things very difficult for them. But realistically, I just think individually, man for man, Sheffield United are going to be a bit too strong. But ultimately, I'm just excited for the game. Let me know what you think in the comments. This is where we wrap it up for the 24-25 season. Unless you want me to do a video reacting to whichever side is going up to the Prem, I will consider doing that as well. I think I'm going to try and stream it. I do have a tiny bit on, but I think I could find a way to stream it. It's at a pretty good time for me, so I might be able to sort something out. I have watched the past couple of playoff finals in the past. Streams are not performing so well for me these days, but it will be really enjoyable to watch the football with you guys again. So I think we're going to have to do it. And if I could stream the last day in the Premier League, I'm going to try and do that as well. Although I am a nervous wreck. I am so nervous for what Chelsea are going to do against Nottingham Forest. We know a win would get them Champions League. It's in their own hands. But, oh, nervous. And we, Chelsea, cannot get into a position where we don't get Champions League, but Spurs do. So the pressure's on us now. Have to get Champions League. So I'm going to get into a different video at this point. So my view, Sheffield United is going to be going up. As always, guys, it's always my prediction. And actually, in terms of my recent record in predicting the playoff finals, I've had 2 correct outcomes, but 3 incorrect outcomes. So I'm hoping I get a correct outcome to make it a 50-50 prediction accuracy with playoff finals. But it could end up that it actually turns out 4 incorrect and 2 correct. So who knows? Who knows how I've done? But as always, guys, make sure you leave your predictions in the comments as well. And I'll be very interested to hear your thoughts too. So, potentially the last video of the 24-25 championship season. So, this is going to be an interesting time to see whether I do pick things up in between now to next season, or what sort of involvement will I get in next season. You're just going to be very, very patient. I've got one more exam actually left to go, which I'm taking in a couple of weeks. So I'm hoping after that exam, maybe I might have a bit more freedom. But we're just going to have to see what's going on in my life. So I'm now waffling at this stage. I want to edit and go to sleep and just dream, hopefully, a really exciting game. If you guys like what you see, please smash the like button. It really does help. Please do hit the subscribe button, and please share the channel too. All 3 of these things are free to do, and they really, really help. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if it's all the end of this video. And as always, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, everyone. Good luck to Sheffield United and Sunderland. I hope you don't let us down and give us a good game. Take care, everyone.